Hey kids, what time is it?
Adventure time! Adventure time!
Right now it is 5:03 in the morning, and we are embarking on our longest planned road trip ever. We are actually going to go all the way down to Key West in the Florida Keys, and we're coming from the Salt Lake City, Utah area. So it's going to be probably around 7,000 miles is my estimation, but the actual planned miles right now is 6,500, but we'll be doing some other travel during the time as well. This is the actual route that we ended up driving through this entire trip, which ended up being 7,168 miles. In a prior video, I summarized all of the stats of this trip, including the number of states we visited, national parks we visited, how many of each type of accommodations we stayed in, etc. I'll include a link in the description as well as a card above to that video. And this is going to be going over the course of about 3 weeks. So I'm going to just show you really briefly here the setup just before we leave. So starting right here in the cabin, I actually have this screen set up, which I've never used before, and this is an information screen on a spare cell phone we have that is coming from a device called the Sexy Buttons. We have one of those buttons as well, but primarily I'm actually using it for the continuous autopilot feature, where it'll re-enable autopilot automatically when you change lanes. But it also has this screen, which I quite like. Over here, this is the route that we have planned today. We're going to be going all the way across Nebraska and stopping in eastern Nebraska over here near Omaha, Nebraska. So we have a long day ahead of us, and today's itinerary is the longest drive day of the whole trip, right here at the very beginning, just trying to get east as fast as possible. And right here I have a trip meter set for the Florida Keys, and so we'll be keeping track of our overall consumption throughout the whole trip. And then right here I have it set to 100%, and it's just barely not quite there to 100% yet. It might be by the time we leave. We shall see. We have our roof box on because doing this trip with 6 people in the car with as small as the Model Y is not very easy. So we're just going to use the roof box. And then I just wanted to point out that, of course, the frunk, we have things in here, and I'm not going to empty it out, but it's got our mobile connector, extension cord, like the BP 50 amp extension cord here, and various other things right there. And then coming around to the back, we have Lucy. Right now, at least, they'll be taking turns here in the back. And then the rest of this area over to the side, that's folded down, and we have stuff stacked in there and across the back here and below the floor there. And then around on the side, this is what the roof box looks like. And we're going to be camping on this trip about 7 nights, and so about a third of the nights. So we definitely need some additional storage, because camping requires sleeping bags and a tent and other things like that. So anyway, that's our setup for this trip. So let's get started. It's now 7:15 a.m. and the sun is just about to peek over the horizon. The number one question people ask me when they find out we go on long road trips in an electric car is, how long does it take to charge? Unfortunately, that question is fairly difficult to answer because charging time varies quite a lot depending on many factors. In my opinion, if you're trying to get somewhere as quickly as possible, then an EV is not the best technology to utilize. In very general terms, our Model Y cadence is roughly 2 hours of driving for every 20 minutes of charging. When we were road tripping in our 2015 Model S, the charge times were closer to 30 minutes of charging per 2 hours of driving. On our last road trip in our Model S before we purchased our Model Y, the S was getting to the point where it needed to charge closer to 45 minutes regularly, and that was becoming inconvenient. Prior to that, however, and now in our Model Y, we love road tripping in electric cars because, for me as the driver, it's a wonderful experience driving and using autopilot, or full self-driving if I want to pay for it. Plus, the ample power makes it safer and more convenient being able to navigate traffic or just maintain speed in uneven terrain. Regen braking is amazing. Stopping to charge regularly makes it easier on our bodies to be able to walk around roughly every 2 hours and explore the area around the supercharger. Plus, with young kids, they always want to and often need to stop more regularly anyway. We have rarely ever needed to stop just to go to a bathroom somewhere. In fact, over nearly 100,000 miles of EV driving, I think we've only had to stop once or twice just for a child to go to the bathroom. Otherwise, all the supercharger stops suffice. I use a third-party data API aggregator called Teslafy that tracks the details of our driving, which I find very useful, and I'm sharing that information at the bottom of the screen to show you, if you're interested, what a real-world road trip in an EV looks like, at least using Teslas at this point in their development. Today we started driving at 5:14 a.m. Mountain Time, and we arrived at our destination at 10:40 p.m. Central Time. which is 9:40 p.m. Mountain Time. That means today we are traveling for 16 hours and 26 minutes to drive 955 miles. This is the most miles we've ever driven in a single day in an electric vehicle. It has now been about 3 hours since we left home, and you can see we're currently at 5%, and the car is estimating that we'll get to our destination at 3%. So originally the car was routing us to the Laramie, Wyoming Supercharger, and it was going to have us getting there like 45%. And I decided just to route us to the Rock Springs Supercharger directly and see if we can make it, and it's close. So during this drive, I actually drove slower than I normally would have, but I decided to skip the other supercharger for a couple of reasons. One is all the kids were asleep, and so I wanted to let them sleep longer, and anytime we stop at a supercharger, they will wake up. The other element is just simply to stop at that high of a state of charge, if you don't have to, is not as good, because when you plug in, your charge rate will be lower, and so it's just better to stop at a lower state of charge. And then just the time it takes to get off the road and go to the supercharger is faster just to keep going. But that is in question on this particular segment, because I had to go fairly slow at some points when we were going up in elevation a lot on this drive. So I was going down slow enough that semi-trucks were passing me, as an example. But that was just for some of the steepest parts. And then also, this screen here has been interesting to look at that data as we've been driving. You can see, as an example, battery temperature right here is currently 107 degrees, and it has been warming the battery, preparing for supercharging, and it was sitting at about 88 degrees before it started warming the battery. And then there's other information here about how many kilowatts are being pulled and whatnot that's interesting to look at. This commander device that's allowing me to get this information was kindly loaned to me by a friend whose, ironically, name is Anthony as well. And so I'm thanking him for letting us borrow it for this trip, because it's really, really handy. As an example, when we want to change lanes, if I turn on the blinker, it disengages autopilot. And then as soon as I get over to the other lane and the blinker turns off, it automatically re-engages autopilot, which is really, really helpful. Hey girls, do you see the sumo? You remember stopping and getting pictures in front of that sumo wrestler one of the times we were here before?
Yeah.
There he is. The superchargers are right here. So I'm going to get plugged in and we'll see what our charge speed is. So unfortunately, this is a Gen 2 supercharger here, so we're not going to get up to the Gen 3 supercharger speeds of 250 kilowatts. It looks like the maximum true supercharger speed we're getting here is 140 kilowatts, and it's probably going to stay at 140 for quite a while before it then starts to come down, because normally right now it would be more like 250 kilowatts. And it's estimating that we'll be the next supercharger 20 minutes, etc. That's the whole itinerary for the day. And so we're going to take a break and go check out this mall, and then we'll be back in 25 minutes to continue on our way. So interestingly, there are some Electrify America chargers coming in, being installed here at the Smith's parking lot, which I did not know about. Up to 350 kilowatts. We're probably never going to need to use that, but I'm glad to see there's additional infrastructure being installed. After Smith's, we stopped by the sumo wrestler and took our traditional photo in front of it, and the car said it's ready to go. So let's go check and see what the estimated arrival percentage is. And I'm planning on having a little bit more safety margin until I'm used to the roof box and how much it consumes. And so right now it's estimating we'll get to the Rawlins supercharger at 22%, so that's good. I was planning on going for 15 or 20%. Batteries charge more slowly the fuller they are. Due to this, the paradigm of driving an electric car is fundamentally different from a gas or diesel vehicle. When fueling up a gas or diesel vehicle, the pump rate stays the same until the tank is nearly full, then it clicks off. Some people might restart it a couple of times to get the tank as full as possible, and in those last few clicks you might be pumping fuel in way more slowly to not spill fuel on the ground. However, the majority of the time that tank was filling, the pump rate was at its maximum. The charge rate of an electric vehicle is the fastest when the battery is around 10%, and that charge rate declines steadily as the battery's state of charge increases. Our Model Y can charge up to 250 kilowatts from roughly 10 to 20%. Then the charge speed begins its slow decline. And if you charge up to 100%, it can get down to around 10 kilowatts. For this reason, the paradigm of road tripping with an electric vehicle from a DC fast charger to DC fast charger over a long day like we are doing is to use the lower end of the battery. Our typical target arrival percentage is around 10 to 15% arrival at the next charger, and when charging, we just charge enough to get to the next charger where we want to stop, and that's usually roughly about 2 hours away. But that can vary a lot depending on the route and where chargers are. Some people might think this is stressful, but we've found that the Tesla computer is quite accurate at calculating the estimated arrival percentage, and with the 10 to 15% safety margin, it works just fine for us. We are typically able to fully charge the battery overnight, however, so the first drive of most days we can drive about 3 hours before stopping to charge. We are now at the next supercharger. You can see over here we're in Rawlins, Wyoming, and I just barely plugged in, so it's still ramping up. I was going to show you the energy graph, and this is what the last drive looked like. So when we left, I think it was around 23% arrival, and we ended up getting here at about at 18%. So just a little bit less than projected. So I think it's getting more calibrated with the additional drag from the rooftop box. And so over here, it's now up to 140 kilowatts. This is only a Gen 2 supercharger as well. So it's estimating 15 minutes, and that's probably what we're going to need. And then also, this is what the consumption looked like just over the last 30 miles. In the meantime, this is right next to a hotel, so we're gonna go in there and take a break. How has the drive been so far today, girls?
Good.
How about you, Lucy?
Good.
Yeah. How about you, James?
Good.
Mediocre.
Mediocre. All right, let's go take a break. The car is now telling us it's time to go, and you can see it's estimating that we'll arrive at the next supercharger here at 9%. I guess that shows it there too. And we're down to 104 kilowatt charge rate, 55%, and it's 10:41. So I'm going to unplug us here momentarily when it gets to 10 o'clock, or now it's 10, so I'm gonna go unplug us and we'll go. We are now charging at the Laramie, Wyoming supercharger, and the charging is, you can see 135 kilowatts there, so clearly this is a Gen 2 supercharger once again. And we got here at 8% on the battery, and then if we look over here at our energy graph, this is what it looked like over the last segment. So it was actually a pretty accurate estimation of our arrival versus what it estimated we would arrive at. These are some of the other stats here. And then this is what our consumption looked like over the last 30 miles. So far on this whole trip, we've gone 415 miles, and we're at 364 watt hours per mile for this whole trip today. So it's estimating we need to be here for 30 minutes to get to the Sidney, Nebraska supercharger. So we're gonna go in and take a break. How are things going, girls?
Good.
All right. How about you, James?
Good.
Are you behaving now?
Yeah, project.
Okay. What are you doing, girls?
Eating rice.
Eating a snack? And
Lunch.
well, we're eating a snack for lunch. How about that? While we wait for the car to charge.
I would like hard-boiled eggs, though.
Okay. How was the drive-in in the back, Lucy?
Good.
Yeah?
I like it. Nice and solitary.
The car is estimating that we have 5 more minutes remaining, but we're going to be getting to the next supercharger 15%, so we're going to go ahead and unplug and get on the road.
Her suspicion was short-lived, though, and soon faded away. Because had he just stayed the normal fish God had intended him to be, the little boy would still be alive to this day.
Another couple of factors that affect the charge speed of an electric vehicle is the capabilities of the charger you're plugged into, as well as the rate at which the battery can accept the electricity. For instance, some DC fast chargers can only charge relatively slowly compared to what the vehicle is capable of receiving in that moment, such as when we charge at a Gen 1 or Gen 2 supercharger, which max out at 120 to 150 kilowatts. But our vehicle is capable of receiving up to 250 kilowatts. Plus, if you're talking about electric vehicles from other manufacturers, there are differences in battery voltages that affect charge speed, etc. Then on the receiving side, the temperature of the vehicle battery has to be warm in order for it to charge at its maximum capability. Since Teslas have active thermal management, they are programmed to automatically heat the battery to the optimal temperature required to charge at the max speed when you are routed to a supercharger. We are now at the Sidney, Nebraska supercharger, just barely plugged in. It's right now estimating that we are going to need to be here for half an hour before we continue on our trip. And so it's planning on going to the North Platte supercharger, which you can see right there. So if I zoom out a bit, you can see we have North Platte, and then we have Grand Island, and then we'll be getting to our destination. And right now it's planning on getting to our destination at 10:01 p.m. Right now we've been getting 362 watt hours per mile throughout today's trip. And you can see that's pretty close to what we've been getting throughout the whole lifespan of this vehicle at this point. And looking at the energy graph, this is what it looked like over the last drive. Down here you can see the percentages of how much of the battery charge went to what use on the vehicle. And then up here, this was the last 30 miles of consumption. So you can tell we're in Nebraska because it's a lot more level than it is in the mountainous states where this moves around a lot. 405 watt hours per mile is fairly high. That's obviously because of the roof box, and right now we're starting to get a headwind, so that's coming into play here. How has it been going, girls?
Good.
Yeah. Okay, let's go explore this area.
And we paused the story at an exciting part. In the middle of a word.
It's always exciting, huh? Every time we stop it, you're like, no! I thought while I'm here as well and not driving, I have a chance to show you a little bit more here about this commander input that is giving me all of this information. I've been really enjoying being able to see especially the battery temperature and how when it turns on saying preconditioning for supercharging, you know, what the temperature is over here. And it's generally, this morning it was at about 88 degrees when we started. And then I would say it's been getting up to about 120 degrees, and generally it's been around 110 degrees, which is where you see it right now. And then it's showing some other things here as well. Temperatures are about the front stator, which would be the front motor, 215 degrees. The rear stator, which is the rear motor, 208 degrees. And that's generally been actually between 220 and 240. Right now it's cooler. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because we've been parked here for a little bit already. And then down here we can see the power coming out of the inverters. So in front inverter would be the front motor, and the rear inverter would be the rear motor. And so far, pretty much once we get up to speed, the front inverter has just been turning off, and then the rear inverter has been powering the entire vehicle forward. And so right now it's showing that the max discharge, which I believe means the maximum that it will accelerate forward. Right now it's only showing 19, which is odd because it's actually 0 because we're supercharging. It won't let us go forward at all. And normally this is displaying around 350 to 400 kilowatts while we're driving, but that depends on the state of charge of the battery pack. And as the state of charge declines, this max discharge decreases. And then max regen would be, the maximum is 85. So the battery's up to temperature, and that's the most it will take. And when the battery is colder, then this number goes down. So overall, this has been interesting to see all that information that has been displayed there. Something else you may have noticed here under my screen is I have these two pink sunglass holders. And these are sunglasses that were sent to us by an Amazon store called Aofalbe. And I'm going to give these to the kids now and see what they think of these. But these sunglasses are UV 400 protection. So we have, the lenses are pink, silver, blue, and purple. So let's go give these to the kids and see what they think of them. Hey kids, what are you doing?
Eating oranges.
Eating oranges. Do you want to check out the new sunglasses that were sent to us to try out?
These are mine? I don't remember what one mine. These are mine?
We haven't picked these yet, Claire. Just go ahead and pick it now, and we'll take turns. Get the purple ones, or the pink ones. I think you'll like those. And these are for James. How good do they fit you all?
Oh, pretty good, bud.
James looks stylish.
Everything's yellow. He's always wanted crackers like that. Blue. No, I want
Okay, just put them
You
on.
can take turns.
Take turns.
I didn't pick the one.
Those have red earpieces.
Oh, Lydia.
Whoa!
Yours are so
Liz.
cool
Yours
looking.
changed from yellow to pink on the
Yeah.
front.
Yes.
That's cool.
What about mine? Do mine?
No, yours are just kind of silvery blue.
Everything's yellow.
Does it look like it's kind of brighter?
Yeah.
How good do they fit?
Good.
Are they comfortable?
Pretty good.
This is going to be fun to have in Florida when we're on the beach, huh?
Yeah.
Just try not to get them all scratched up and broken, okay?
I
Take
will.
them off, hand them up to me and Dad, okay?
And look at
We've been here for a little while, and we're up to 79% now, and it's having us get to the North Platte at 12%. So we're going to unplug and go. We are now at the North Platte Supercharger, and this is a V3 supercharger, so it did peak at 250 kilowatts briefly, and it's coming down from there. But this is definitely the fastest that we've charging that we've gotten all day. We got here at 12% on the battery, and it's saying to be here for 35 minutes, which I don't really want to do necessarily. I prefer to charge more often. Upon investigation, I found that the Kearney supercharger must be a newer one. I don't recognize the name of it, and it's a V3, so faster. And Grand Island that it was taking us to is V2, so 150 kilowatt, and Gothenburg is also 150 kilowatt, and so is so North Platte is a newer 250. So we're going to skip Gothenburg, go to Kearney, and then we'll skip Grand Island probably and go to Link. So it's estimating that we need to be here for 20 minutes to have enough charge to continue on our way. We've now been here for just a little while, and you can see it's saying 1 more minute to continue. We're at 73%. We're down to 64 kilowatt charge rate, and we're going to be getting to the next supercharger at 12%. So we're going to unplug and go. Keep in mind, when charging an electric car at DC fast chargers, the peak charge rate is less important, and what really matters is the average charge speed over the entire charge session. I've found that even using slower Gen 2 superchargers, our Model Y is still faster than our Model S was using those same Gen 2 superchargers, because the Model Y can sustain charging at the medium speeds the Gen 2 supercharger is capable of outputting for a longer period of time, so the average speed stays higher. So far, everything I've outlined has been at DC fast chargers, and we only use superchargers since we have free supercharging on our Model Y, which we have because Tesla was offering a promotion allowing us to bring free supercharging over from our Model S, which had free lifetime supercharging from back in 2015 when it was made. One more thing to clarify regarding charging speeds is when you're not charging from a DC fast charger, which is generally our everyday life living with an EV at home while not on road trips, but does still apply to road trips when you're staying overnight somewhere with electricity. I have a variety of adapters which allow me to plug into various electrical receptacles. Electricity is actually far more ubiquitous than gas stations are, but the speed at which you can get that electricity is the real bottleneck. For instance, if we plug our car into a standard household outlet that's 120 volts and 15 amps, and for safety purposes we only charge at 80% of that 15 amps, the car is charging at 1.44 kilowatts, and that takes 3 to 4 full days of charging to fully charge the battery of our Model Y. We've done that before when it works out, but what's even better is when we can plug into someone's 240 volt receptacle, such as their clothes dryer receptacle, electric oven, or even a welder plug in a shop, all of which I've utilized before to charge our car just in a couple of hours while we sleep. Being able to charge fully overnight is the best because in that scenario we're not waiting at all. And that's how our daily life is at home when we're not even waiting for it to charge, because it's just charging in the background while we're sleeping or otherwise at home where we would be anyway. The bonus is that charging at home, the electricity is typically about a quarter or less of the price that it costs from a DC fast charger. Throughout this trip video series, I'll be sharing the varied circumstances with which we charge our Model Y to power us driving all 7,168 miles over the 22 days of this road trip. We charge primarily from superchargers, but on this trip we also charge from clothes dryer and electric oven plugs, and even a campground pedestal. In a prior video, I covered all the stats from our entire trip, and I'll link to that video in a card above and in the description below. However, in brief summary, to give you an idea of how this day went, we drove for 13 hours and 6 minutes, and we supercharged for 3 hours and 4 minutes. That means that for every 14 minutes of supercharging, we drove for an hour. Today, we were waiting for charging more per hour of driving than a normal travel day because we covered such a long distance. On shorter travel days, we're often able to charge at destination chargers during the day so that we're not waiting, or our car fully charges overnight when we're not also waiting. And if we don't drive very much the next day, then we may only wait at a supercharger a couple of times or less. Over our entire 7,168 mile 22-day trip, we waited for 12 minutes at a supercharger per hour of driving, which is a 5-to-1 ratio. I hope this gives you a better idea of what to expect when road tripping in an electric car. Like I said at the beginning of this video, if you're in a huge hurry to go a long distance, then a gas or diesel vehicle will be clearly the better technology to get you there faster. However, the driving experience in a Tesla is far superior in my opinion and experience. Plus, it's less hard on our bodies in an EV since we can stop driving more often and not be sitting on our butts nearly continuously all day long. It just depends on what you need for your situation. We are now in Kearney, Nebraska at the supercharger here, and I just plugged in. We're already getting 200 kilowatts and it's climbing still. This is a V3 supercharger, as you can tell. It is 7:30 p.m. Utah time. It's 6:30. We're hungry, so we're going to get some food here at the eating establishments nearby. So I just decided let's just go eat and we'll see where we're at. Like I said, 50 minutes does not make any sense because it's only 127 miles away to get to Lincoln. So that's what I want to do, but that time estimate is crazy high and I just don't know why. So we're going to go eat and then see where it's at. How is your Runza burger?
I haven't tasted it yet.
How do you like your onion rings? Great? Good? How's your burger, Lucy?
I just popped my thumb.
How's your fries, James? Loving it? All right. Girls, how was dinner?
Good.
Good. So coming back here to the car, it's at 86%, so very high, and 42 kilowatts, so very low. So we want to go. But right now it's estimating that we'll get to the Lincoln Supercharger at 4%, which is low. There's a significant headwind, and that's what it's calculating here, because it's only 127 miles away. We should be able to get at least 200 miles of range normally, but with the roof box and it's cold out, it's 41 now, and with the significant headwind, I think that's what's going on here. So it's telling us basically to charge up to 100%, and well, I don't want to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and take off, and we'll see what the estimated arrival percentage is and as we go. But before we get to Grand Island, we'll have to make a judgment call because there's a supercharger in Grand Island. So we'll stop there and charge, and then be able to continue on probably straight to our destination at that point and just skip Lincoln. But this Lincoln Supercharger is V3, so it's faster if we can get to it. But it's really close to our destination, so we can probably just skip it. But I just don't want to keep waiting at 41 kilowatt charge rate. We'll get a much faster charge rate in Grand Island, even if our battery is only like 60% at that point. So we're gonna just unplug and go. We are now at the Lincoln, Nebraska Supercharger, and this is our first time here. This is a new one, so it's V3. Happens to be in a parking lot of a Runza again, the third in a row. In any case, we're getting we were at 254 kilowatt charge rate just a minute ago, and we're at 14%. We got here at 8%. And so right now it's estimating that we need to be here for 10 minutes, and that we'll get to our intended destination, well, right now at -9%. So we'll be here for a few minutes and then we'll get there. We're actually going to a family member's house that we've been to before, and we're going to be charging from an outlet in their house. But as much energy as we get here, there's going to be energy that offsets what we consume out of their house. So we're probably going to just stay here for enough to get there with some good safety margin. It's late enough though, at 9:51. We really don't want to stay too late, otherwise I would probably just fill it up more. And so we're going to get what we can, and then we'll continue on our way. And we'll get to our destination. Are you so excited, James? See your cousins?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
How about you, Clara? Are you having a good trip so far? Today is the longest travel day of our whole trip. And as it stands right now, we've actually already broken our record, and we're not even there yet. So we've gone 914 miles. And I don't remember, I'll put on screen what our prior record was, but it was going across to Texas back in December of 2019. The record that we're breaking today is enabled because of the faster charging of the Model Y. The battery is up to 47%, and we're going to be driving for another 40 miles or 42 minutes, and be getting there at about 10:42 p.m. And we're down to 107 kilowatt charge rate, 48%. So we're gonna get on the road and get to our destination. And we are now at our relative's house where we're staying. We ended up getting here at about 10:40 p.m. And I've now plugged into the dryer outlet of their house, and so we're charging at 24 amps, so we're 6 kilowatts. And I have the charge limit set to 90%. And so it's estimating that it will take 10 hours to charge up to 90% at that rate, which is totally fine because we'll be here for a couple of days. So our total mileage for the day ended up being 955 miles. So that's a record for us. And we were getting 399 watt hours per mile. And we used up 381 kilowatt hours. So just in brief summary, we used far, far more electricity today than I anticipated, meaning our watt hours per mile was way higher. There were some segments that were literally double the amount of energy that this car is rated to consume on average, meaning 250 watt hours per mile, and we were up to 500 watt hours per mile. Now, some of that is speed potentially, but I mean, there were some segments that I was literally going at the speed limit or below, and we were still really high consumption. So it's a combination of the roof box and just the prevailing winds of the day, which were unlucky. And I don't know how much was the prevailing winds versus the roof box, but obviously the prevailing winds, it caused the roof box to be even more drag than it just is normally. Regardless, we got here, and because the car charges so quickly, I don't feel like it was a huge difference, but it's hard to know for sure how much of a difference it was. Also, the superchargers are close enough together. There was never any issue with not being able to make a certain segment, but there were some parts where we didn't skip a supercharger and other parts where we did, and because the superchargers are just not a consistent distance apart either. Regardless, we got here and we have free supercharging, so it was all free. It did take longer than if we had a gas car, but I love driving this car. It's a very comfortable car to drive, and autopilot works great. And being able to have the commander in here that's connected into the wiring harness of the vehicle, and it controls the sexy buttons that I talked about at the beginning of the day. Just the resume autopilot feature was fantastic. Being able to just turn on the blinker, have it discontinue auto steer, but maintain the traffic aware cruise control, being able to move over to the next lane and then just have it automatically turn the auto steer back on, just worked great. So we're going to spend a couple of days here, and then we'll be moving on through our trip, and we have many destinations throughout the remainder of this trip, so we'll get a better feel by the end of the trip for sure of really how much of a difference the roof box made, wind resistance and whatnot. But we determined that this car is small enough for a family of 6 that to have all the camping supplies and food for multiple days of camping, we really had to have additional cargo capacity. This car does not have enough for that. If we were doing a smaller trip with minimal amounts of stuff, and we were maybe staying in hotels or with friends and families, but definitely not camping, and probably no minimal food as well, just snacks for the road, then we could get by without additional cargo capacity outside of the vehicle. So in the morning, I'm going to show you where I am plugged in to this house, and then we'll go from there. It is now the next morning, and you can see the battery got up to 90% and then sagged down a little bit, and it's now at 89%. And right now it's just pulling a little bit of energy because the heater just turned on as I got in the car. So I just wanted to show you how I'm charging it here at our relative's house where we're staying. So this is obviously where plugged in, going around this direction, and the kids are playing on the trampoline. Let's see it, Clara. And so the cord has come along this way. I've got it plugged into the 30-foot 50 amp extension cord. There goes Lucy. And then the cord is going in the window right here. Hey girls.
Hi.
So this right here is where the cord is coming in to the laundry room at this house. And then the cord is coming across over this way. We pulled out the dryer a little bit. And down here, it's plugged into an adapter that adapts from the NEMA 1030 outlet to the NEMA 1450, and that's what my extension cord is. So I was able to charge up the whole car this way overnight.
Do you want to light them, Lydia?
Come on.
I get that. Want me to light them?
Yes.
Light your shirt on fire first.
Should have got a blue.
Oh my.
Yeah, that would have been fun for Grandpa.
Happy birthday, dear Lydia. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Lydia, how do you like your cake?
Just lucky you didn't have 79 candles on.
You like the horn?
Yeah.
You want to eat the horn?
Yeah.
What is the horn made out of?
Marshmallows.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Go.
James wants it too. So Lydia, how old are you?
8.
8. Dad, how old are you?
79.
Yeah, own it.
So right there. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 9.
Nice.
All right, what part do you want,
The
Lydia?
horn.
The horn.
Only the horn?
Just the horn.
Just the horn? Nothing else?
Just the horn.
Okay. Do you want some cake as well? What part of the cake would you like?
I want marshmallow.
The head.
The eyeball.
The eyeball. It's her birthday. She can have what she
Bullet.
wants.
Lydia, why do you want the eyeball?
Because it's made out of candy.
Lydia is opening her first birthday present.
Oh, it's not her first birthday present.
Her 8th birthday present.
I was right.
What is it?
I knew it was a pocket knife. I knew it. No, it's mine. Mine.
Now you can have
Oh, did Jack have one like that?
Yeah, we can use it camping on this trip, Lydia.
your name on it, Lydia. What can you do with that?
She can carve pokey sticks, huh?
Yeah.